Okay, go ahead, Charlotte. It's all you.
Hi everyone, I'm Charlotte White. I am a senior Girl Scout with Troop 7355. I'm a sophomore at a high school here in Lexington. I go to Henry Clay High School. I am a competitive dancer. I've been dancing for almost over 10 years. So that's pretty much all about me that I can think off the top of my head. Thanks for joining us, by the way. We really appreciate it. So we have some just easy, like general get to know you questions for our two lovely ladies today. So our first one is tell us a little bit about yourself and about what you do, so your career.
Okay, my name is Ashley Durham. Hi, I am a second grade teacher at Rice STEM Academy in Lexington, Kentucky. It's a school for all girls. I have more than 10 years of teaching experience as a kindergarten teacher, first grade teacher, and now second grade. I have a bachelor's degree in elementary education from Eastern Kentucky University. I have a master's degree in teacher leadership, including a literacy specialist endorsement from Georgetown. I also like 3D printing, so I have several courses in that. And my passions include teaching scholars math through hands-on applications and lots of discussion. And I'm just excited to help math be a fun experience for our scholars.
I'm Antoinette Marie Davis, and I am a learning developer at Nordstrom's corporate office. And a little bit about me, I have been in the field of mathematics for over 15 years. So I teach mostly collegiate level, and my major part-time employer is Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And I've been there, about 3 years now. And my biggest takeaway for students is, even for those who don't love math, that they come into the course with an open mind, because hopefully by the end of the course, math becomes their best friend. We can only have hope for that. So that's who I am as a person.
Okay, so let's see. So our next question is, what is your favorite part of being an instructor?
Um, this is a hard question because there's so many amazing parts of being an educator. But my favorite part is probably just the ability to be with children, and you get to build authentic relationships that last way beyond the classroom. It's important that I am being a positive role model for children and encouraging them to do great things inside and outside the classroom. So I think that was probably my favorite part of being an instructor.
I would say my favorite part of being an instructor is just being able to open hearts and minds and being able to hear the stories of the students on how they looked at math in the past and hopefully how it has changed even now.
Okay, so our next question is kind of like a three-part question. There are like multiple parts to it. So the first part is, what was your favorite math subject to learn and practice when you were young? The second one was, did you ever struggle with a math subject when you were younger? And math can have a reputation for being one of the more challenging subjects in school. How have you found ways to keep math fun and entertaining for yourself and others?
All right, Charlotte, that's a long one. So I'll do my best to see if I can answer all of those. So my favorite subject in math. So it actually took me until I was in high school to really love math. And I'll talk more about that. But my favorite subject was pre-algebra. So you'll get to that. Now they offer it in middle school, which is amazing. But it's all because I had a teacher named Miss Cox who helped me grasp the content and taught me in a way that worked best for me. It made me feel confident. And yes, of course, there's always areas in math that I struggle with. And even as an adult, I think one of those that can really stand out in my mind is multiplication, because multiplication back then was all drill. You had to drill, and that just wasn't the best learning style for me. And the next follow up was about math having a bad reputation or being challenged, right? Is that correct? Okay. And ways that I have found that will best promote math is probably to make it fun and high interest in learning by using hands-on game themed activities or using a very inclusive and natural approach. So scholars love to play games. So we found that it's best to use games during math. So they're having fun while doing it and they don't even realize that they're learning so much because they're having fun. Also, the other aspect of making math fun is having conversations. I remember being in the classroom and the teacher was like, don't tell her the answer. Shh, nobody tell her the answer. And that's not how it is. It's okay to have those authentic math conversations to help each other out if you don't understand. So discussion in my classroom is a huge component to making math fun, of course, along with the game learning style.
I would say my favorite course was pre-calculus because it was the beginning of all those formulas and of course the precursor to calculus, which most people know. I did struggle in the very beginning. I would say 7th grade, I struggled because we switched school districts. And when you switch a different school district, you have to get into their form of learning, the textbooks they use, the assignments they use, so on and so forth. But what really helped me was my teacher, Mrs. Hirsch, and she was there every morning at 7 a.m. and she tutored me. And that really helped me to catch up with all the other kids and somehow make it into a career. What I tell students in terms of math and struggle is to just keep trying. Oftentimes we give up when we don't get the right answer. I mean, every answer is not going to be 1 + 1 is 2. Some things are going to take 3 and 4 steps. So just being able to show students how to be more effective with it and just really walking alongside of them. With online teaching that I do now, I have to do a lot of that remotely. So you have to be very intentional with how it's done.
So, as everyone knows, COVID-19 hit us last year. And so during COVID-19, self-care was a very important thing that we all had to pick up about trying to keep ourselves all together. So what are ways that you guys implement your guys' self-care?
This can be difficult because as an educator, you know, our job starts at 6:30 a.m. and sometimes we don't leave until 6 p.m. at night. So I completely understand how important it is to take those opportunities for your mental and physical health. I know for me, one stuff that I enjoy is reading for pleasure. I love fiction. I love fantasy, science fiction novels. Also, I love to draw, love art. So when I find time, I try to do that. And my most important thing of all is spending time with my family and my pets. I have 2 German Shepherds. You might hear them during this time, but that really rejuvenates me when I can just finally take a step back and spend time with them.
In terms of self-care, what I enjoy doing is vacations. So I love going out of town. My family lives 6 hours away. So that's a vacation for me. I just got back from Jamaica, so that's a vacation. I think it's important that as I get older to not work, which is what, you know, educators tend to do, but to take intentional breaks. So oftentimes that could be maybe just going to Marshall's or just stepping away, because oftentimes with everything with COVID, it's so easy to be stuck to the computer, and that's not the healthy way to go.
So this is kind of like a weird personal question, I should say. So where would we find you guys on a Saturday morning at 10 in the morning?
Thank you, Charlotte. Antoinette, if you ever want to go shopping, I'll go with you, girl. We'll go to Marshall's. So at 10 a.m. Saturday is my first day to sleep in. So I'm going to take full advantage of sleeping in since I have to be up at 4 a.m. in order to get to school on time. So I'm sleeping in, but I'm definitely up by 10. So my sleeping in probably takes me to 8 or 9. So by 10 a.m., I'm probably on the couch, relaxing and having brunch with my husband while my 12-year-old middle school son is still sleeping.
I would say 10 a.m. on a Saturday, I am sitting on the couch because that is my day of religious observation. So I'm home and I'm just thinking about the fact that I don't have to do any work at that time.
Miss Ashley, this question has been directed to you by one of our viewers. They asked, what are some of your favorite books to read?
All right. You probably read this, but Harry Potter is probably one of my all-time favorite multiple novels to read. I of course Twilight when it came out, I love that. So I really love science fiction. So anything that's sci-fi, I love those and recommend. And I have a list that I've been compiling, so I can always send it out later after this.
So our next question is, how do you balance your career, your personal life, and your passion?
I think that balance is very important. In terms of my career, I love it. 9 to 5, I do my career. But after 5, minus sessions like this, I unplug because I have to. I think that my personal life is important, and I do have to spend time investing in that as much as my career. In terms of my passions, math is one of my passions. So I can say that I work in my passion. So that makes it pretty easy. But other passions that I have, it helps me to have that balance so that I can really be a well-rounded individual.
I would say, honestly, like Antoinette was saying, for educators, it's really hard for us to find time for ourselves. So this is an area of growth for me, to be honest. I am very work driven and I care about my scholars so much. And I think of them as my personal responsibility. So even on the weekends, I'm constantly thinking about my scholars and what's going to help the ones that might need more or challenge the ones that might need it. I'm constantly thinking of it. And I would say my passion is STEM and making STEM an equitable experience and job opportunities for women.
Oh, sorry. So our next, portion of questions is about leadership. So our first question in this category is, how do you encourage girls to pursue math careers? Was there someone, a teacher or a mentor, who inspired you to pursue a career in math?
I would say my teacher, Miss Bass, she taught all subjects in elementary school, but she had such a passion for mathematics that as I worked with her in the morning, mom would drop me off. It really helped me to be able to see that, wow, this is something I really can learn. And over time, other teachers, Ms. Hurst and other teachers would really invest in me in terms of mathematics. And then they would always point me to examples such as Mae Jemison or the ladies who were a part of NASA. It's so many different examples that they gave me that I said, oh, I guess I can make a career out of this. So it was really helpful that they really took the
I think having good background experiences in math is a foundation for building a person's passion towards math and a math oriented career. So fostering those experiences to be positive is crucial in the classroom. We all know that we grow up to do what we love and what we admire. And so that's why the positive experience is huge. So my high school teacher, who I referenced to before, Ms. Cox, was probably the one that taught me pre-algebra, was an incredible mentor. So she was the first person. So like I said, in elementary, it is okay if you are not there and you're not passionate about math yet. It just takes that one time, and mine was in high school when she encouraged me and she made me feel confident and helped me develop those positive experiences that were attached to math and really focused on helping me have a growth mindset. So like Antoinette had reference to, if you don't know it, it is okay. You just got to understand that with work and practice, you'll eventually get to it. So you might not know it yet. The key word is yet. And she really helped foster that mindset in me. And so I would say she was my mentor.
So on to the next question. It is, how important is it to have a mentor to grow as a leader, and what are some steps to build that type of relationship?
I think it's important to have a mentor for a leader because you need to be able to see how it's done. especially effectively. There are always good mentors and there are bad mentors. So there is a difference. I would say the steps are just like this program in terms of Girl Scouts and other community programs where you network, getting a chance to know other ladies who are leaders in their community and not being afraid to say, can we go and have a coffee just to learn more about your role and how one day I could be in that role or something similar.
Yes, I completely agree. I think it's incredibly important to have a mentor. All scholars are driven by relationship. There's actually a quote that this reminds me of, and it's like, no significant learning can occur without a significant relationship. And so I think you mentioned steps. So some of those steps to building a relationship to get to know the scholar both inside and outside of school. Like you will see me at a soccer game I actually have one next Sunday for one of my scholars to let her know that I care. And this is a scholar that I had in the past. So those relationships you have go way far beyond the time that you have them in the classroom. So try a parent survey to make all stakeholders have a voice in their child. They know their child best. So if you can get a time or a survey out to them so you can see the way they think their child learns, that's going to be really helpful. Definitely take time to get to know how each scholar learns. I know that's really hard. I have 25 students in my classroom. It takes time, but it's okay. It's really, really will pay off once you can see how each child learns and then help cater to that style. Give them time to really see that you care about them. Sometimes the hardest relationships are the most ones that pay off. So like one thing that I do is I had a child who was really struggling to transition to third grade. So we started a notebook. And every day after school, she drops off the notebook and I write it. And then every day she picks it up in the morning, takes it home and writes it. So let her know that I care and that I'm a person in the school that she can always talk to in case that there's anything she needs. And just ultimately, my biggest thing is kindness and compassion. So it's just about having compassion and it starts with compassion.
So the next question that we have for you all is, what does leadership mean to you and what is your leadership style?
Leadership to me means being willing to follow before actually leading. So many people want to be leaders so bad, but they're not willing to, for example, hold someone's jacket or maybe stand off in the background and be a supporter. It's important to understand what it's like to be less before you really think about what it means to be a real leader. And I think that in terms of leadership, it's important to really understand how other people feel, not just how you feel. And there's lots of examples of that online where lots of leaders are really leading with an iron fist, and that is not what should be done. For myself, I believe it's important to lead with compassion and with a heart, because there's lots of people that are going through different things right now.
You're completely right, Antoinette. Especially with COVID, and there's so many different experiences going on, and we don't know what's happening behind closed doors. So just being compassionate with children and adults is really important. I think leadership is someone that I can trust to guide me, that will listen to me, and that they have confidence in my abilities. My leadership style is probably really relational. So I think it's incredibly important to build relationships with my mentees. When you're in the teaching field for like I have 10 years, then you'll have mentees that you mentor. So my first thing is to build that relationship with them and having compassion for their lives inside school and outside school.
So the next one we have is, what quality do you think makes a great leader, and is there anyone in particular that you all look up to as a leader, and why?
I would say patience, because if you don't have patience, you won't be able to understand what each person is going through. In terms of leadership, I would say my very own parents, just the fact in how they were able to lead our family, and my sister and I were able to go through school and really pursue our dreams. And when it comes to leadership, it's difficult, even when it's your very own kids. So you have to really lead with patience and also compassion, because each kid is going to think of something different that they want to do. Even though I'm in math, my sister's in psychology. So that's two different strengths, but they're still strengths as a whole.
I think the qualities that make up a great leader are someone that is a good role model, someone I admire, someone who's driven, someone who has common moral or ethics, someone who really cultivates relationships with their workers. Ultimately, someone who's empathetic to the needs of others. I know any, like the scholars in my class, they will work so hard for you as long as you have that relationship with them. The person I admire, I am so grateful. Lexington has built an all-girls public STEM school, one of its kind. So for Kentucky, and I really admire the director of our school. Her name is Jennifer Jacobs. She's driven. She has STEM in the forefront of her mind. She's about diversity and equality, and those are traits I really look up to and I admire. So that's who my person would be.
Okay, our next category is best piece of advice. So, what advice do you have for Girl Scouts as they pursue their education, and what advice do you have for women looking to challenge themselves in the math field?
I would say in terms of advice, do the impossible. A lot of people tell us as women that we can't do math, and we tend to have a small drop off at a certain level of middle school. Think beyond that. Do the impossible because you can. And what I tell young ladies is to think about math as a subject that can open up so many possibilities, such as engineering and all these other different career fields. But think about it as a positive and also go for it with all your might. Yes, it will take time. Yes, the math courses will get longer. And yes, it will be a situation where you may feel as though you may need assistance. Seek out that assistance and still go for it and pursue what it is that you want to do.
That's wonderful advice. I completely agree. The advice I have for Girl Scouts as they pursue the education is to really discover who you are. Set goals, focus on commitment, learn from knowledge and not results. That's a huge one I preach in my classroom. When we take assessments, it's not to get 100%. It's more so I can know what you need in the future. So again, learn from knowledge, not from results. Keep a growth mindset and always remember to be compassionate and kind. I think the same goals are for women who are looking for a challenge in math. Don't be afraid of a challenge. Be confident in who you are and your talents. Don't give up when times are tough. There is never one way to solve a problem. That's the biggest thing I've learned as I grown up. And your way might not look like somebody else's way to solve a problem, and that is okay. Don't be afraid that the path doesn't look the same as everyone else.
It looks like we have another question from our chat. And this question is, you both talk so openly about compassion. How do you think girls can show compassion in today's world?
Okay, sorry, Antoinette, we're playing mute and pause. I apologize. Yes, I teach my own son compassion. And like I said, he's in middle school. And I think one of the biggest examples I can give is I got a call from his school that said he was in the office. And I was like, uh-oh, what did he do? And it was actually a praise from a teacher. He said that he went over to someone who was new in school and the person didn't know anyone. And he went over to them and he helped them learn the rules of the game in gym class. And I asked him, I said, why did you do that? He said, Mom, I was just looking at his face and it looked like he wanted to talk to someone. So taking time, and I know it's really difficult because we live our lives, but take a step back and look around. Look how other people, showing empathy is looking at people, maybe understanding how they feel and act. So sometimes we have to put ourselves back, not all the time, back and really focus on other people's needs too and what they might need in that moment to be a good friend or to be a good mentor, to be a good Girl Scout. I think that's one of the easiest ways is just to kind of be really observant and see who might need something.
I think another way to look at compassion is pretty much treating others the way you want to be treated. We hear that all the time. And too often we don't really think about it until we're in that situation. So I think showing that to young ladies is so important, and even really acting it out. If you needed food, you would want someone to give you food. You should do the same thing.
So another question that we have is, it is said that we use math in everyday life. We all hear it. It's part of everything we do. So what are ways that we use math in everyday today life that we may not realize?
I would say in our cell phone usage, one thing that we don't realize is in the settings, the actual phone keeps track of how many hours, literally, that you've been on the phone. So every single week, I get an update. You've been on the phone 11 hours a day, which is quite a bit. So stuff like that occurs. In another app, Instacart, it keeps track every time I put something in the cart. Now, when it's time to check out, the money has to be there or I can't get those groceries. So there's many different ways that we use it, especially in cell phones and in everyday life.
Yeah, that's so funny. You're completely right. Like it will say, oh, TikTok, you have this amount of time. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's not okay. So that's exactly right. I would say you're right. Math is everywhere. And that's one thing we do at the STEM school. We really incorporate math in a natural way because math is natural. You do it every day. If you're earning badges as for Girl Scouts, just the way you even sort the badges is math categories. Think about measurement. Anytime you do any type of measurement, hair length, getting your hair cut, you're doing math. Packing your lunch can do math. Passing out papers and pencils is math. Driving your car, think about your navigation system. When you're calculating miles, my gas light's on. This is like a thing for me. I'm like, how many miles do I have to get myself to the gas station before I run out? Oh, I have 14 miles. Well, the gas station is 16, so I better turn around and go to a closer one. So something like that. Like she said, phone numbers is math. You have to know your numeral knowledge in order to be able to even use a phone. Grocery shopping, like Antoinette was saying, was shopping in Amazon. Girls, and when you get those gift cards, you have to be able to calculate money in order to know how much you can buy with the gift cards. So being time, a lot of us forget time is a huge aspect of math, elapsed time. So just if your parents are like, how long are you going to be gone? Making sure you're calculating how long you're gone. So it's from the time you start to the time you finished and what's in between. Spending a night at your friend's house, and even sports can have math.
So the last written question we have, so I guess at the end we'll do like, I guess kind of like a meet and greet, but like questions instead. But the last written question we have for today is, what do you believe will be the biggest challenge for the next generation of female leaders behind you, and what is advice you would give them?
I would say the biggest challenge of female leaders behind me is dispelling the myth that only men can do this type of role or this type of leadership. So being able to show them how to be fearless in organizations like Girl Scouts is so important. And what was your second question?
And what advice would you give them on how to achieve their goals?
I would say to go after what it is that you want to do. When I went into mathematics, I was told it was a mostly male field. And even in my second class of calculus, I was told, you know what, you might want to stop here. But think about where I would have been if I had actually taken that advice. So if you receive negative advice, put a positive spin on it and make sure that you go forward and do what you want to do in life. After all, you have to live this life and you have to be happy with what you have chosen for a career. You might as well choose it for yourself.
Wow, I completely agree. One day we are going to have a woman president, and that's exactly what Antoinette is talking about. I think right now, a lot of people have opinions, and due to social media, a lot of opinions are expressed. And so as a future leader, we have to understand and be receptive to all opinions and not just our own. Think Antoinette, like reference to the iron fist. So as a future leader, being empathetic, listening to all opinions, but within that, be true to yourself. know who yourself is and stay true to that. Don't feel like you need to change for anyone, because girls, you do not. You are wonderful who you are. And so that's probably my advice right there.
Thank you both so much. I have been sitting here listening behind my screen this whole time, and just I see Ashley doing our snaps, and I've been doing the same, because everything you all have said is so just on point for every single one of the questions. I've just been like, yes. And so I hope that everyone else has felt the same way while they've been listening. Like Charlotte said, that was the last of our pre-written questions. And so if anyone wants to type in the Q&A or in the chat, we are happy to ask either of these wonderful women the questions that you have. While we wait to see if anyone's going to type anything, is there any last comment you might have, either Antoinette or Ashley, that you'd like to share?
I'm just very grateful to be here. I know our school partners with the Girl Scouts. We love your mission. I love the mission. I love how kindness is at the forefront of everything you do. So girls, I just say, just be kind and be who you are. Thank you for letting us be here today.
I would say my final comment is thinking of the cartoon of Ren and Stimpy. I believe it was them, that at the end of every single episode, they didn't take over the world, but they sat down and they really pondered and thought about it and says, well, what are we going to do tomorrow? And they said the same thing we did today to try to take over the world. So as young women, you are the image of who the next generation of women are going to see. Go out and be fearless.
Yes, thank you so much. I used to watch those shows too. That's so good. I don't see any questions in the chat, but I'm sure that people can reach you all if they need to. I know that you guys have your LinkedIn profiles, and we have a connection with the Rice STEM Academy. So thank you both just for being here and for answering these questions and for providing just really wonderful insights on all of the things that Charlotte mentioned today. So with that, we will conclude our Unstoppable Women series for today. And thank you again, Charlotte, for hosting. Claps for you too. Awesome. Thank you all again. And thank you to everybody that came and attended today. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye.